Protection Agency. Hear me okay? Basically, I deal with fluorinated greenhouse gases and ozone-depleting substances. Now, these have significant environmental impact and are subject to environmental regulation. These gases are also critical to the operation of refrigerators, freezers, chillers and air conditioning systems within the Irish food and drink sector. The regulations put obligations on the operators of these systems, and significantly there are bans and restrictions already in place and significant ones coming down the track, which will have major implications for the sector. So it's important that the sector is aware of these bans and makes plans so they can continue to operate the critical refrigeration and air conditioning systems for their sector. This kind of outlines my presentation. I'll just go briefly through it. First of all, why are ODS and F-gases regulated? Well, basically, ozone-depleting substances and chemicals which damage and deplete ozone within Earth's atmosphere. Ozone, ultraviolet, gets through and it's damaging human health and other animals as well, and plant life. Fluorinated greenhouse gases are very potent greenhouse gases which can contribute to climate change if released. So as I said, these are the gases which currently operate the sector's refrigerators, freezers, chillers and air conditioning systems. So the regulations will place restrictions on these as well as other obligations on operators. These are the three basically groups of gases in the RAC sector. You've got the ODS gases, ozone-depleting substances. You've got F-gas, so fluorinated greenhouse gases. And you've got a third group, kind of ammonia, carbon dioxide, propane, isobutane. These are called natural refrigerants. And they're not subject to any regulation. So, as I said, because of the significant environmental impact of F-gases and ODS, environmental regulation has been introduced. Now, basically, these European international agreements drove European legislation, which in turn drove Irish legislation. So the ODS are controlled by the Montreal Protocol from 1987, and the F-gas are controlled by the Kyoto Protocol. So there's been, just to be aware, these European legislation has been revised significantly. The F-gas legislation was significantly revised in 2014 and brought in new obligations and restrictions. These are the various stakeholders. The Environmental Protection Agency is the competent authority in Ireland for the enforcement of the Irish regulations and European legislation. We deal with various bodies, primarily the Department of Communications, Climate Action and Environment. And we also deal with trade and industry representative groups such as the Institute of Refrigeration of Ireland. Our role, as I said, is we're the competent authority for these regulations, so we're responsible for enforcing the regulations. We engage with the European Commission, we have to report on these. As I said, these regulations all derive from international agreements, so we report to Europe and Europe reports to the United Nations. And significantly, we develop a lot of guides and information for operators, contractors who maintain these systems. So I'll just talk about the main obligations facing the sector. Containment of gases. You cannot release the gases. You have to try and prevent the release of gases from systems. It's an offence to release F-gases, for instance. There's a requirement to leak check your equipment. Each individual piece of equipment has to be leak checked. Now, typically for most say F-gas systems, any containing more than 5 tons equivalent carbon dioxide equivalent, which is about, say, 10 kilograms of 404A, which is a common refrigerant, has to be leak checked at least once a year. The more gas, then the more frequent the checking. You have to use certified companies and qualified personnel. So the people who do your installation of refrigerant gases, who check for leaks, who decommission the systems to remove the gas, they must all be qualified, and the companies they operate with must be certified. We have set up a company in Ireland to certified companies called F-Gas Registration Ireland, and they issue certificates on an annual basis. Now we also accept certificates and qualifications from EU member states as well. They're all mutually recognised in Ireland. So theoretically, you can engage a contractor from anywhere within the European Union if they're qualified. Operators of all these systems, so this would be, if you're a supermarket or a restaurant, you have an obligation to maintain records. Records are the only way you can demonstrate compliance with the various other obligations, as is leak checking, use of certified people to maintain your system. Each individual piece of equipment has to be labelled. The label will state the type of gas that's in it and the quantity of gas, as well as some other stuff. Now, your contractor will provide you with these labels. And you have to ensure proper waste management. It's important to know that all these F gases and all the S gases in your refrigerators or air conditioning systems are actually classified as hazardous waste when removed. So they have to be treated as hazardous waste. Now, most refrigerant contractors are certified to also deal with waste gas, but you have to have a check that they have the actual authorization in place. Some of them don't. In summary, these are kind of the main operator responsibilities. Now, we carry out inspections and surveys of the sector as well, so I'll deal with some of our findings in relation to these obligations later on. Now, I'm going to move into the ODS bans and the F-gas restrictions because these are very significant for the operation of the RAC systems, both now and going in the near future. So, ODS RAC gases, that's refrigeration and air conditioning gases, primarily HCFCs are the main ones, are no longer allowed for maintenance of equipment since 2014. Now we know there are a lot of systems out there which are operating on R222, which is a common HCFC gas. You cannot maintain that system anymore. If that gas leaks and you need to top it up, that's now illegal. So basically, it has major implications, and I'll summarise the implications later on. So, F-gas restrictions, so as I say, the legislation was revised in 2014. It's taken a three-pronged approach to reducing the emissions of F-gases. So there are three aspects. There's an F-gas phase down, which has actually commenced this year. There's a service and maintenance ban, which is basically taking place from January 2020. And there's the placement on the market ban. Now this has been rolling out since 2007, but for the commercial sector, really it kicks in significantly in 2020. I'll talk about each of these more detail now. So the F-gas phase down, it starts this year actually, but the phase down starts reducing next year. So basically, based on annual quantities placed on the market between 2009 and 2012, they've taken an average, that's 100%. By 2030, only 21% of that gas will be available. So there's significant set down dates in 2018, so there'll be a significant reduction in availability of HFC gas. And HFC gas is the F-gas which is most commonly used in refrigerant systems. So for instance, R404A is a really common gas used in the industry. We expect the cost of that to skyrocket in the next few years because basically the availability will go down, supply and demand. So, then the placement on the market bans. So again, this has been rolling out since 2007, but significantly for something like stationary refrigeration and multi-pack centralised refrigeration systems, which are the main systems in use in the industry. There are significant dates from 2020 and 2022. For instance, stationary refrigeration. That means that if you have a gas which has a global warming potential, the GWP, greater than 2,500, you will no longer be able to sell that equipment from that date. So, for instance, R404A will not be able to buy equipment which relies on R404A after that date. This is a very important one as well, the service and maintenance bans. So again, from January 2020, use of F-gases with a global warming potential greater than 2,500 for reasonable medium-sized systems basically will be banned in terms of virgin gas. So from 2020, you will not be able to use what's called virgin HFC gas, virgin 404A for instance. to maintain your system. As you know, most of these systems are required to be topped up. They leak. They have to maintain your refrigerator contractor has to come in and add extra gas to them. From 2020, you won't be able to add any more virgin gas. No, you will be able to add reclaimed or recycled gas until 2030. But even then, the ban comes in place, and that will end. So basically, if you have a system now which relies on 404A, come 2030, you'll have to scrap it. So I gave the example there, so you can see 404A, if you have a charge, if you have a piece of equipment that contains 10.2 kilograms of 404A, you're affected by these bans. That's quite a small system. So the implications are to be the F-gas phase out is going to restrict the availability significantly of gases. So the cost is going to go up. So you have a number of options. You can retrofit your equipment with an alternative gas. Now, the whole aim is to reduce the global warming potential of F-gases. So there are alternative gases with low GWP that you can put in lieu of high GWP gases, or you put in a new system. But significantly, I'd say if you're buying a new system, you should ask your contractor, in consultation with your contractor, make sure you use the low GWP gas, or one of the alternative natural gases like ammonia. I've included up here, there's a recent publication from the United Nations, Lower Global Warming Potential Alternatives to Commercial and Transport Refrigeration. This is a lot of interesting case studies. Like for instance, in Germany now, a lot of supermarkets are using transcritical carbon dioxide, which is a natural refrigerant gas, not subject to regulation. And Lidl in Germany are also rolling out propane, which is R290, which again is a natural refrigerant gas, not subject to any regulation. So I would say, if you're putting in a new system, you need to make sure to future-proof it, that you use a low GWP or a natural alternative gas. And you can also retrofit existing system with a lower GWP gas, because as I say, come in the next few years, you'll find the cost of existing gases, common gases in the industry here, become very expensive and may even become harder to obtain. Just in terms of enforcement, we do a number of test studies and inspections on I'll just quickly go through that. We follow up on points. Our offences for the breaches of these regulations, but the main purpose is also to build awareness. You can see here, we did a big survey in 2012, and we had a lot of problems with people. Companies weren't using certified contractors, they hadn't good inventory of their systems, bad record keeping, they weren't doing leak checking properly, they weren't using qualified or trained personnel, the waste management was poor, labelling was poor, so basically record keeping was very poor. So these are the kind of areas we're finding and need to improve. We produce a lot of guidance. We have guidance on our website for the operators of our AC systems. These are just a small selection. We have a website, and if you actually put in ozone.ie or fgases.ie, it brings you to the relevant sections of our website. The European Commission also has a useful website with guidance, and that's linked. You can link to that from our website. That's basically if you have any questions, we'll put on the video. 3 minutes? Okay, I'm going to run you a small video, just about 3 minutes, which is from the United Nations Environmental Programme, which kind of gives an overview of the reason for all this legislation and what we're trying to achieve.
This is one of the chemicals that destroy ozone in the stratosphere. But that's not all it does. It's also a greenhouse gas. Like carbon dioxide, it prevents heat energy escaping into space and so contributes to global warming. But this ozone-depleting substance is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. Over a timescale of 100 years, 1 kilogram of CFC11 has the same impact on global warming as 4,660 kilograms of carbon dioxide. And this isn't even a particularly bad one. Other ozone-depleting substances, have an even stronger global warming effect. It's been estimated that if we had not acted to stop these chemicals being used, then by 2010 we would have added the equivalent of 135 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. To put that saving into perspective, it's equivalent to a quarter of all global emissions between 1990 and 2010. Without early action on ozone-depleting substances, culminating in the Vienna Convention and Montreal Protocol, we would already have lost the battle to keep global warming below 2 degrees centigrade. The Montreal Protocol was not designed to mitigate global warming, but it has been spectacularly successful in doing so, and its work is not yet done. Some ozone-depleting substances are still being phased out. Some remain in existing equipment, building insulation and elsewhere, and these need to be managed safely. And now there's a new threat to the climate from the success of the Montreal Protocol itself. These HFCs are some of the chemicals that replace the CFCs. They're not damaging to the ozone layer, but they still contribute to global warming. Their contribution is currently small, but emissions are growing fast, so they're a cause of grave concern. The Montreal Protocol led to a hunt for chemicals such as HFCs that could replace CFCs, but these are contributing to global warming. Working together, we can replace HFCs with chemicals that do not destroy ozone and are climate friendly.
Thanks, Eamonn. That takes me back to 1974 when I went to college. My first chemistry project I had to write up was on the use of CFCs.